What about patterns of jealousy? You were asked questions with regard to patterns of jealousy versus you were trying to talk about feelings of jealousy or feeling jealous.
Yes.
Is there a difference between a pattern of jealousy and feeling jealous?
Yes.
What are the differences?
Feeling jealous is common. Most human beings have felt jealous sometime in their lives. Acting and having a pattern of jealousy, as I use it in domestic violence, is when that jealousy is used to control the person in your life, the other person in your life, so that you may be jealous and you might give somebody the silent treatment. And what they know is when they come home from visiting their friends and you don't talk to them, that there's something that they have to pay a price for that jealousy. Or they may be direct about it. They may tell you they don't want you spending time with somebody. One of the men in my group used to interrogate his girlfriend, and he didn't like it. He didn't like that he was doing that. And he worked hard to change that. And that's what I see. It's jealousy that really gets in the way of your relationship with your partner or people that are potential partners.
Okay. So is there a difference between patterns of jealousy and the behavior that is following this pattern versus people just acting normally? Like let's talk about teenagers, or when Miss Arias was a teenager and she was dating on and off with Bobby Juarez.
Okay.
Do you remember being asked questions about Bobby Juarez?
Yes.
And when you were asked those questions, I believe some of the talk had to do with the fact that their relationship went back and forth. They broke up, they got back together, and etc. Do you remember that?
Yes.
The prosecutor asked you questions about the fact that Miss Arias called him after they broke up and then they got back together. Do you see any type of behavior like that's to call that an act of jealousy?
No, I call it an act of having a hard time breaking up, and I see that all the time just in regular relationships. I mean, people oftentimes have a hard time breaking up when they don't want to do it, and they reach out, and people do that all the time. They reach out to try to make contact because they're not ready to end the relationship. But once they know it means business, you see that behavior, the backing off of that behavior. That it doesn't increase, it doesn't keep going on, it diminishes over time.
Okay. And what about the fact that she was a teenager at the time? Does that make any difference to you?
It makes a difference to me because I was a teenager, and I think most of us know. Most teenagers have not had the life experience to know how to handle breakups, and so they don't handle them really well. And we tend to be a lot more immature when we're teenagers. So the way we behave around breakups, the way we behave around relationships is different.
Remember being asked questions about Matt McCartney and when they broke up?
Yes.
The fact that Jodi spoke to the woman that Mr. McCartney was cheating with, Bianca, right?
Yes.
The fact that she spoke to her, does that cause you any alarms for jealousy coming from Miss Arias?
No, in fact, I think it's almost, it's more mature than a lot of teenagers or young people who would not be direct, who would not go and talk to a person, who would be angry, who would, write notes, who would do a lot of things, but certainly not go up and talk to the person and find out about what was going on, and then back off. I didn't read about any other or continued contact or any harassment of Bianca.
And you know what you know about this situation from what Miss Arias told you as well as what Mr. McCartney said in his interviews. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you hear a common theme about Miss Arias crying when she's upset?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Her previous boyfriends, and I believe there were interviews about her as a child, and I'm not remembering exactly, but her previous boyfriend said that she was a crier, that she cried. Even Mr. Alexander said she would just cry a lot. So she was a crier when she got upset.
Does crying when you're upset, does that have anything to do, does that show any type of negative pattern of jealousy?
I hope not.
Okay. Is there anything with regard to what the prosecutor talked to you about, picking something from when she was a teenager with Mr. Juarez to picking a time when she spoke to Bianca, and then I don't think you discussed anything with Mr. Brewer.
No.
Anything about those two times in her life that, for you, creates a pattern of jealousy?
No.
And is that because you're just biased and you will say whatever on behalf of Miss Arias?
I don't say whatever on behalf of anybody. I turn down cases, and I've turned down numerous cases during the last 3 months. This is not the way I earn my living. I'm a therapist and a trainer, and I don't take cases that I don't feel have merit.
I want to talk to you about stalking, okay?
All right?
Give me just one. You were asked a lot about stalking, right?
Yes.
Specifically right now, I want to talk about what it is. Can you explain what stalking is? Not as we use it in a common sense, but in a clinical sense. What does stalking mean?
Stalking is a pattern of behavior that causes fear in someone else. That it can be a short pattern, but that it causes not only fear, but a reasonable person would see this as problematic. And you read about stalking, and stalking, once again, is not my expertise, but I've worked with people who've been stalked. And there are many ways to stalk people. You can use GPS, you can use computers, you can use following people, you can use a term called gaslighting in their homes, where even moving things around. I've seen people who move things in someone's home and leave their home. So there are many ways somebody can stalk. They can, as in one case that I worked on, put a fake bomb. That was not a real bomb, it was a fake bomb in front of his girlfriend's house. But I think what's different and what's important about stalking is that stalking frightens people. And that people who are stalked, that I know who have been stalked, have gone to the police, have tried to get protective orders. Some people have moved their homes. There's a lot of usually active behavior, but not a behavior to connect with their stalker.
You were asked questions about instant messages between Mr. Alexander and Reagan Housley. You remember that?
Yes.
And I think we heard today several times about Mr. Alexander claiming he was afraid.
Yes.
During that same conversation that he's having with Miss Housley about claiming to be afraid, is he also joking with her?
Objection, Foundation. The words were extremely afraid.
Right.
Is he also joking with her?
Yes, he's joking with her also.
And do you know that based on the words that are contained in the instant message?
Yes.
And some of the characters that people write to say that they're joking. Do you know that based on some of the characters that are written in here?
Yes.
And this is all part of the same conversation he's supposedly talking about being extremely afraid.
Yes.
And during the time that he's having this conversation with Miss Housley about being afraid of being stalked, did you look at other instant messages that were going on that same day?
He had...
Objection, Foundation indicated she didn't know the date.
She did.
Overruled. You may answer yes or no.
Yes.
All right, and you know that the date that the instant message between Mr. Alexander and Ms. Housley is May 19th. Does that sound right?
Correct.
On May 19th, after he's complaining about being stalked by Miss Arias, isn't he also instant messaging with Miss Arias that same day?
Yes, he is.
And isn't he instant messaging with Miss Arias several times that day?
I don't remember how many times. I'd have to be refreshed.
Okay. I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit 619. You can see that there's tabs on here. Are these instant messages from between Mr. Alexander and Miss Arias?
Yes.
And do you see at the top May 19th?
Yes.
And do you see that there are several, although they all occur on May 19th, do you see that there are different times from different starting times of these instant messages between the two?
Yes.
And so in other words, are they having conversations with each other on the same day that he's complaining she's stalking him?
Yes.
Is that behavior of somebody who is extremely afraid, does it support that verbiage at all?
It doesn't seem to support that verbiage at all.
What about on this very same day, is he also having instant message conversations with another woman?
A woman by the name of Nicole, I believe.
Yes. And so on May 19th, he's talking, as far as the evidence, the written evidence that you have in front of you, is he talking with 3 different women?
Yes.
You were asked questions about this supposed stalking behavior, and we know that this instant message, when he complains about it, is May 19th of 2008, and you were asked questions about some of that behavior going for starting months before, right?
Yes.